Hold them tight! Don't let them escape! These are the thieves that have been stealing from us for years! Remove their masks.
Long time ago, in a small quiet village called Odukwu, the villagers slept with their doors open. No one feared anything. Then one night, something changed. A goat disappeared. The next night, yams were gone. Then chickens, money, even clothes. At first, people thought it was spirits, but it kept happening every single night. The thief was smart. No footprints, no noise, nothing. The village became afraid. Men stopped sleeping, women hid their food, but still, the stealing continued. What nobody knew was this. It was not one person, it was three. Three close friends, Kola, Bayo, and Tunde. During the day, they acted normal. They laughed, helped people, even joined search parties. At night, they became shadows. They planned everything carefully. Kola would watch, Bayo would distract, Tunde would enter and steal, and they never got caught. Years passed. They became bold. One night, Bayo whispered, "Let's steal from the chief." Kola hesitated. "That's risky." But Tunde smiled. "That's where the real money is." So they went. That night, everything went wrong. As Tunde entered the chief's house, he stepped on a dry stick. Crack! The chief woke up. "Thief!" Drums started beating. Men ran out with fire and sticks. Kola tried to run, but slipped. Bayo got caught trying to jump a fence. Tunde ran, but a dog chased him down. For the first time, they were caught. The whole village gathered, angry, tired, hurt. "These are the ones," someone shouted. They tied them to a tree. Beatings started, slaps, sticks, stones. "Why did you do this to us?" People cried. The friends were crying now, begging, but nobody listened. Then the oldest man in the village came forward. "Remove their masks," he said. Everyone went quiet. A young boy stepped forward and pulled the cloth off Kola's face. Gasps. Then Bayo's mask. More screams. Then Tunde's. The crowd froze. Some women started crying. A man fell to his knees because the three thieves were not strangers. They were their own sons, people they trusted, people they fed, people they loved. Silence filled the air. Then something strange happened. The chief spoke slowly. "These boys have been stealing for years." He paused. "And none of us ever suspected them." He looked at the crowd. "Because we were too busy suspecting each other." The villagers looked at themselves in shame. Friends had accused friends. Neighbors had fought. Families had broken because of lies. But the real thieves were right there among them all along. Then came the final twist. The oldest man stepped closer to the three boys and said, "I know why you started stealing." Everyone looked confused. He pointed at the crowd. Years ago, their fathers were wrongly accused of theft in this same village. Murmurs spread. They were beaten just like this, even though they were innocent. Silence. The fathers died in shame. The crowd froze. These boys grew up with that pain and turned into what you see today. The three friends were crying heavily now, not just from pain, but from something deeper. Regret, anger, broken hearts. The chief closed his eyes. What we plant is what we harvest. That night, nobody slept, not because of thieves, but because of truth. The next morning, the village felt different. No laughter, no noise, just heavy silence. The three boys were still tied to the tree, weak, bleeding, quiet. Nobody wanted to look at them anymore, not out of anger, but shame. The chief called for a meeting. Everyone gathered again. This time, no one shouted, no one pointed fingers. The oldest man stood up slowly. "What we did yesterday," he said, We have done it before. People lowered their heads. He continued, we punished without thinking. We judged without truth. A woman in the crowd started crying loudly. It was Cola's mother. My son is a thief, she cried. But who made him this way? No one answered. Bayo's younger sister stepped forward. She was shaking. I remember that day, she said softly. When they beat our father, her voice broke. They said he stole, but he didn't. Tears rolled down many faces. Tunde finally spoke, his voice weak. We were children, hiding behind the wall, watching everything. Kola added, we begged them to stop, but no one listened. Bayo looked at the ground. That day, something inside us broke. Silence again. Then the chief did something no one expected. Untie them. The crowd looked shocked. But they are thieves, someone said. Yes, the chief replied calmly. But we are also guilty. Slowly, the ropes were removed. The three boys fell to the ground. They didn't run. They didn't speak. They just cried. Real tears, the kind that come from deep pain. The chief looked at them. You will not steal again, he said firmly. They nodded. You will walk. You will repay what you took. They nodded again. And you will tell the truth. Always. This time they spoke together. We will. Days passed. Life slowly returned to the village. But things were no longer the same. People became careful with their words, careful with their actions. The three friends worked every day, fixing houses, helping in farms, returning what they could. Some people still didn't trust them, but others started to see change. One evening, a child went missing. Fear spread quickly, but this time something different happened. Instead of blaming each other, everyone searched together. Kola, Bayo, and Tunde were the first to run into the forest. They searched all night. Finally, they found the child near the river, safe, crying, but alive. When they brought the child back, the whole village watched them. No anger this time, no shouting, just quiet respect. The chief stepped forward again. This is how a village should be, he said. Not perfect, but honest. Years later, the oldest man who always spoke truth fell sick. Before he died, he called the three friends. There is one thing I never told anyone, he whispered. They leaned closer. That day, when your fathers were accused, he coughed. I knew they were innocent. The three men froze. Why didn't you speak? Tunde asked, shaking. The old man closed his eyes slowly. I was afraid. Tears rolled down Kola's face. So all this could have been stopped? The old man nodded weakly. Yes. And with that, he died. Moral lesson. Silence in the face of wrong is also wrong. If you know the truth and say nothing, you are part of the damage. Sometimes the greatest harm comes from those who stayed quiet.